Starfield has been in a very weird place when it comes to reviews, and Bethesda are now making this all the worse with some very strange and bizarre behaviour. Bethesda then have taken to replying to negative reviews on Steam. Now, whilst that's not unusual in and of itself, Bethesda have been doing this for a while off and on, and other developers do it as well. What is unusual is that Bethesda are using copy and paste replies, and they're doing so in a way that really comes across as condescending. Take this one for example. The post is very straightforward. The review just says no, and it's not recommended. Has 163 hours on record. Bethesda have replied to this with, "We're sorry to hear that you did not enjoy your time in Starfield. Our team is constantly working to ensure that Starfield is fun and polished. You can take your time to explore various planets for resources and items. You can also break the law by smuggling, and selling contraband. Build your own outposts and starships and customize them to your enjoyment, exploration and role-playing. There are many things to do and explore. You can visit our Discord for further ideas from other players. There's so many layers to Starfield that you will find things you never knew were possible after playing for hundreds of hours," and on it goes. It's a very strange reply to a review that didn't even need replying to. You can see they've copy and pasted the same reply to this review, which just says wait for modders to actually finish the game, and yet there you go, you can see the exact same reply. In fact, this reply has been used a lot of times. There's another example right here. So yeah, that's all very weird, but where it gets really condescending is with the reviews where people have clearly spent a bit of time actually, writing down why they're not recommending the game. We've got another one here, 54 hours on record, and they put it as not recommended. I love Bethesda games and I was very excited for this one. That being said, this game is just not as fun as when compared to Fallout 4 or Skyrim. The quests were made way too easy. You can talk your way out of literally anything. For example, not one NPC will question you when you commit acts of industrial sabotage in broad daylight in sight of everyone. Also, the quests are just not that good. This game will need a lot of DLC before it gets to the level of other older Bethesda titles. So I wouldn't say this is a harsh negative review. It's not an unfair review, that's completely reasonable, and whilst not everyone is going to agree with it, this is the individual's opinion, and I think it's completely reasonable. Yet Bethesda have gone out of their way to reply to this with a copy and pasted reply. And yes, it's exactly the same old reply. You can take time to explore various planets for resources and items. You can also break the law by smuggling and selling contraband. It's got no bearing on what the individual has actually said in the review. But that said, I do want to reiterate that it's not a bad thing when developers go out of their way to reply to negative or not recommended reviews, and it is a process that works. Right here we got a tweet from the community manager of Techland. This is the team behind the Dying Light games. So they've said it's not a bad way to communicate with users, but you need to love the game and the players, and you need to do it because you want to, not because someone tells you to. This feels very forced, and I do have some experience with it, and they're referring to a tweet they made a few years ago, where they said, "A year ago I started contacting people who left a negative review for Dying Light. I did my best to help them out with any problems they had. My goal, reach 95% positive reviews on Steam, and today it's done." So there we have it, proof that contacting Steam reviewers that have left negative reviews or not recommended reviews and talking through the issues they have can actually have a rewarding benefit that can actually get people to change their minds and go back and look at the game again and even change their review from a not recommended review to a positive review. So yes, it does work, and it makes sense that developers would want to give it a try. The problem then is that Bethesda are doing this in very much the wrong way. This isn't a good way at all to actually go about it. As I said, it feels very condescending, and as the post there said a moment ago, it also feels very forced. What's more, it seems that this is going to backfire. It's actually going to have a negative effect, and the complete opposite effect actually of what Bethesda are no doubt intending. The gaming press have picked up on this, and they're not reporting on it in a favourable way, and of course, as you might expect, it's all over Reddit as well. Now, I talked to Steam to have a look at some of the reviews, and I copied all the reviews from the past 7 days, right back to the 22nd of November. I then did two things. Now, it seems that Bethesda started doing this en masse around about the 27th of November. There's a few here and there before that date, but they weren't significant until just recently, until that date. So I took all the reviews between the 22nd of November and the 26th of November to see how many not recommended versus recommended reviews there were, and it turns out that it was trending around about 74% positive. And that is actually a much better score than what we've been seeing on Steam for Starfield recently, which means that people are starting to leave better reviews. However, if we look at reviews from the past 2 days, we can see, and I've done exactly the same process here, we can see that they're trending around about 50% positive or thereabouts. Of course, due to the way I copy and pasted the information here, these numbers won't be 100% gospel, but they're going to be pretty accurate, just allow a slight tolerance, so just so you know there. Of course, this could all be coincidence. After all, correlation doesn't necessarily imply causation, but even still, it seems very likely that after hearing about this, people are starting to leave more and more negative feedback. In essence, Bethesda have created a chain reaction which is encouraging people to review bomb. Whichever way you cut it then, this seems like a very bad move on behalf of Bethesda. Very strange all in all. Now, after the fact that the gaming press have picked up on this, it's very likely that Bethesda will probably put a stop to the practice, or at least doing so in such a way. However, it's most likely that the damage is already done. Either way, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Meanwhile, do check out these other videos listed on the screen.